The call came at 3 a.m. in Singapore, which meant it was 2 p.m. back home. Prime time for my mother's guilt trips. I almost didn't answer, but something in my gut told me this wasn't her usual, "When are you giving me grandchildren?" routine. I'm Kennedy, and I've spent the last 5 years building a life 9,000 miles away from my family's expectations. Policy advisor for an international think tank, apartment overlooking Marina Bay, and most importantly, complete control over my own life. At least, that's what I thought until my phone lit up with Mom's contact photo. "Kennedy? Honey?" Her voice had that sickly sweet tone that always preceded bad news. "I need you to sit down for this." I was already sitting, actually. Glass of wine in hand, watching container ships drift across the harbor. "What's wrong?" "It's your grandmother." A practiced pause. "The doctors say she needs full-time care now. The dementia's getting worse, and she had another fall last week." My chest tightened. Grandma Evelyn practically raised me while Mom and Dad worked doubles. She was the one who taught me to read, who slipped college application money into my coat pockets, who whispered, "Fly far, little bird," when I told her about the job in Singapore. "Why didn't anyone tell me about the fall?" I kept my voice steady, professional, the same tone I use in board meetings. Michael was handling it. Of course he was. My 32-year-old brother, who still lived in Grandma's house rent-free, supposedly taking care of her. A second voice crackled through the speaker. "Hey, sis, you there?" Michael, probably lounging on Grandma's couch right now. "Listen, we need to figure out the money situation. Care homes are expensive and—" "Is Grandma there?" I cut him off. "Can I talk to her?" "She's sleeping." Mom jumped back in. "Kennedy, honey, we've been talking, the whole family, and we think it's time you came home. You're so good with her, always have been. And your job, well, you can find policy work anywhere, right?" I watched my reflection in the window, saw myself go completely still. 5 years of carefully constructed independence, and they thought they could just snap their fingers and summon me back? Michael's been doing his best," Mom continued, "but you know how he is with details, and your father and I are too busy with work to handle this ourselves." "Too busy for your own mother?" The words slipped out before I could stop them. "Don't start, Kennedy. Family helps family. You're single, you have flexibility. Michael needs—" "What does Michael need?" I kept my voice ice cold. "Besides a job and his own apartment at 32. That's not fair. Your brother's going through a rough patch. He's been keeping Grandma company." "While living off her pension?" Another ship passed by my window. I tracked its lights, counting breaths. Michael's voice again. "Hey, I've been here every day. Where have you been? Off playing international businesswoman while—" "I've been working," I said quietly. "Building a career, sending money home every month, money that was supposed to go toward Grandma's care." "Where did that go, exactly?" Silence. Then Mom's voice, harder now. "We've already booked your ticket home. Next Tuesday. The family needs you, Kennedy. It's time to stop being selfish." I let out a slow breath. "I'll need to check my schedule. I'll call you back." "Kennedy." I ended the call and sat in the dark, watching Singapore's lights flicker across the water. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Flight details, followed by a guilt-laden, "Grandma would do it for you." They were right about one thing. Grandma would do anything for family. But what they didn't understand was that she'd also taught me something else, the difference between helping and being used. I opened my laptop and started a new document. At the top, I typed, "Care options for Grandma Evelyn." Below that, "Real estate agents, Pennsylvania area. And finally, elder law attorneys. My phone buzzed again. Michael. Better bring your checkbook when you come home, sis. Care homes aren't cheap. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my banking app and started calculating exactly how much it would cost to solve this problem. Not their way, but mine. They wanted to play family obligation? Fine. But this time, I was writing the rules. I'm done playing the good daughter, I whispered to my reflection. They won't see me coming. I took another sip of wine and started making calls. It was early morning in Pennsylvania, and I had work to do. 3 days of strategic silence drove my family crazy. Mom called twice more. Michael texted increasingly hostile reminders about the flight they'd booked, and even Dad left a rare voicemail. Your mother's very upset, Kennedy. Just come home and we'll sort this out. I ignored them all and focused on my laptop, where I was on a video call with Lindsay, a social worker my friend had recommended. So, let me get this straight, Lindsay said, adjusting her glasses. Your brother lives in your grandmother's house, supposedly as her caretaker, but you're the one they want to give up everything to come take care of her? That's the family logic, yes. I took a sip of coffee. What are my options? Well, first we need to assess her actual needs. Do you have access to her recent medical records? I shook my head. Michael's been handling everything, or claiming to. That's concerning. Lindsay made a note. And the financial situation? She owns her house outright, has a pension, some savings. I've been sending money monthly, but... I trailed off, thinking about those unexplained withdrawals I'd spotted in her online banking. We should start with a full medical and financial assessment, Lindsay said. I can recommend some excellent in-home care agencies, but we need to understand what we're dealing with. My phone buzzed. Another text from Michael. Mom's crying because you won't answer. Real nice, sis. I turned the phone face down. How quickly can we move on this? Once we have the paperwork? Pretty quickly, but... Kennedy... Lindsay leaned closer to her camera. You should know that this might get messy. Family situations like this often do. I'm counting on it. After ending the call with Lindsay, I dialed Grandma's house. Michael answered on the 4th ring. Finally! Where the hell have you been? I need Grandma's medical information, I said. Her doctor's names, recent diagnoses, medication list. Why? Just come home and we'll show you everything. Email it to me. Now. Look. His voice turned wheedling. You know I'm not good with all that paperwork stuff. That's why we need you here. You're the organized one. Put Grandma on the phone. She's sleeping. It's 2 p.m. She's tired. Jesus, Kennedy, stop being such a control freak and just... I hung up. Within seconds, my phone lit up with a text from Mom. Your brother's doing his best. Why do you always have to make things difficult? I opened my email and started typing. Dear Lindsay, I'd like to proceed with the care assessment immediately. Also, can you recommend a good elder law attorney? My phone pinged with an email notification. From Mom. Subject line. Your flight home. The message was short. We've made the decision for you. I opened the attachment. A flight itinerary for next Tuesday. First-class ticket from Singapore to Philadelphia. They'd even splurged for a direct flight. How generous. With Grandma's money, no doubt. I forwarded the itinerary to my work email and called my boss. Janet, I need 2 weeks of emergency family leave. Yes, starting next Tuesday. No, I'll be working remotely when possible. Thank you for understanding. Next, I called my friend Camilla. They did what? She exclaimed after I explained the situation. booked me a ticket home, first class, probably with Grandma's money. And you're actually going? Yes, I said, but not for the reasons they think. Girl, you're scaring me a little. What are you planning? I looked out at the Singapore skyline, watching the sun set behind the skyscrapers. Remember that quote about revenge being a dish best served cold? Kennedy, I'm not going to do anything illegal, I assured her. I'm just going to solve the problem, permanently. Keep me posted, Camilla said, and try not to commit any felonies. After hanging up, I checked my email again. Lindsay had responded with 3 attorney recommendations and a list of documents we'd need. I started making more calls. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from Michael. BTW, gonna need you to pick up some groceries when you land. We're running low and Grandma's card isn't working for some reason. I screenshot the message and added it to my growing folder of evidence. Then I booked my own flight home, economy class, arriving 3 days before the ticket they'd bought me. Sometimes the best revenge is the one they don't see coming. I opened my calendar and marked the date. T-10 days until Operation Take Back Control began. Let them think they'd won. Let them think I was falling in line. They had no idea what was about to hit them. The Uber dropped me off at Grandma's house at 7 a.m. I'd told no one I was coming early, and the morning silence felt like a weapon in my hands. The house, once the pride of the neighborhood, with its neat garden and freshly painted shutters, looked tired. Weeds choked the flower beds Grandma used to tend so carefully. I used my key, the same one she'd given me when I was 12. For emergencies, she'd said with a wink, and for when you need a quiet place to study. The inside was worse than the outside. Empty beer cans littered the coffee table. Gaming equipment tangled around the TV where Grandma's family photos used to be. The air smelled of stale pizza and neglect. Hello? I called out softly, not wanting to startle Grandma if she was awake. A thud from upstairs, then Michael's voice. What the hell? He appeared at the top of the stairs in boxers and a stained t-shirt, his hair a mess. You're not supposed to be here until Tuesday. Surprise! I set my suitcase down. Where's Grandma? She's still sleeping. You can't just... It's 7 a.m. She used to be up at 5 every morning. What medications is she on? He ran a hand through his hair. Look, she's fine, okay? I've got everything under control. I walked into the kitchen. Dishes filled the sink, and the trash overflowed. The calendar on the fridge, where Grandma used to meticulously note her doctor's appointments, was blank except for some scribbled gaming tournament dates. When was her last doctor's visit? I opened the fridge, nearly empty except for beer and moldy takeout containers. Last month? Maybe? Michael followed me, getting defensive. I told you I'm handling it, like you're handling the house. I gestured at the mess. The groceries? Her medication schedule? You don't get to come in here and judge me. I'm the one who's been here. Where were you? Working, sending money. Money that was supposed to be spent on her care. I turned to face him. Where did it go, Michael? His face flushed. We needed... Who's we? Before he could answer, a quiet voice came from the doorway. Kennedy? Is that my Kennedy? I turned. Grandma stood there in a faded robe, looking smaller than I remembered. Her white hair was uncombed, her hands trembling slightly as she reached for me. Hi, Grandma. I hugged her gently, noting how fragile she felt. I've missed you. My little bird, she whispered, using her old nickname for me. You flew back. I did. Are you hungry? Let me make you breakfast. I'll do it, Michael interrupted. You just got here. You must be tired. There's no food in the fridge, I said flatly. I'll go shopping. Grandma, why don't you show me what medications you need to take this morning? She looked confused. Michael handles all that now. Really? I looked at my brother. Show me her medication schedule. He shifted uncomfortably. It's, I have it written down somewhere. I helped Grandma to a kitchen chair, then found her pill organizer in a drawer. Empty. All of it. When was the last time you filled her prescriptions? Look, the pharmacy was being difficult about the insurance. Stop talking. I pulled out my phone and called the pharmacy directly, walking into the living room for privacy. 5 minutes later, I had the truth. Prescriptions unfilled for weeks. Insurance denied because someone had tried to fill them at multiple pharmacies. When I returned to the kitchen, Michael was trying to make coffee with moldy filters while Grandma dozed in her chair. I'm calling Mom and Dad, I said. Family meeting, tonight. They're working. Not anymore. I dialed Mom's number. When she answered, I cut off her surprised greeting. Emergency family dinner at Grandma's, 6 p.m., no excuses. Kennedy, you're here early. We had everything planned for 6 p.m., I repeated and hung up. I spent the next hour helping Grandma shower and dress, fighting back tears at how unsteady she'd become. In her room, I found bank statements stuffed in drawers, unpaid bills, and a credit card statement showing charges at gaming stores and restaurants. Remember when we used to garden together? Grandma asked as I helped her with her buttons. You always knew which flowers needed more sun. I remember, I said softly. You taught me that some things need to be uprooted to help the garden grow. She patted my hand, a moment of clarity in her eyes. My smart girl, you always could see what needed to be done. I kissed her forehead and tucked her into her favorite chair with a blanket. Then I went to my suitcase and pulled out a folder labeled Legal Documents. Time to start pulling weeds. By 6 p.m., I'd filled Grandma's prescriptions, stocked the fridge, and documented every concerning detail I'd found. Mom and Dad arrived exactly on time, wearing matching expressions of confusion and annoyance. Kennedy, what's the meaning of... Mom started, but I cut her off. Living room, now. I gestured to the couch where Michael already sat, looking nervous. We need to discuss Grandma's bank statements. Where is she? Dad asked, glancing around. Sleeping. The nurse I called today said she's severely dehydrated and her blood pressure is dangerously high from missed medications. Mom's face tightened. Nurse? We didn't authorize... I found these, I said, spreading papers across the coffee table. 6 months of bank statements. Want to explain the withdrawals, Michael? He shifted uncomfortably. I needed 4,000 at GameStop. I pointed to a highlighted line. 3,000 at Best Buy. Daily food delivery charges while Grandma's fridge was empty. Now wait just a minute, Mom interjected. Michael's been here taking care of her. Taking care of himself, I corrected, with her money, while her prescriptions went unfilled and her house fell apart. You have no right, Michael started, but I pulled out my phone. I spoke to Lindsay Howard today. She's a social worker specializing in elder abuse cases. The room went silent. Abuse? Dad's voice cracked. That's a serious accusation. Financial exploitation is abuse, I said flatly. So is medical neglect. Would you like to see the photos I took today? The empty pill organizers? The bruises on her arms from falling? I told you about those falls, Michael protested. You weren't here. No, I was sending money. Money that was supposed to pay for her care. I turned to my parents. Did you know about the withdrawals? Mom looked away. Dad studied his hands. Right. I pulled out another document. This is a petition for emergency guardianship. Lindsay helped me prepare it. You can't do that! Michael jumped up. I live here. I'm her caretaker. You're her parasite, I snapped. And it ends now. Kennedy. Mom's voice turned syrupy sweet. I know you're upset, but we're family. We can work this out ourselves. Like you worked out sending me to Singapore's airport for a flight I never booked? We were trying to help. No, you were trying to dump your responsibilities on me while letting Michael drain Grandma's accounts dry. I stood up. I've already filed a police report about the financial exploitation. An investigator will be contacting you all tomorrow. You called the police on your own brother. Mom's voice rose hysterically. I also called a realtor. The house goes on the market next week. Michael leaped up. You can't! Where am I supposed to go? That sounds like a you problem. I turned to my parents. The proceeds will go into a trust for Grandma's care, professional care, in her own apartment, away from all of you. We won't allow this, Mom declared. I laughed. You don't have a choice. I've already spoken to her doctors and lawyers. The guardianship hearing is on Thursday. We'll fight you, Michael threatened. With what money? The money you stole from Grandma? Good luck explaining that to a judge. Dad finally spoke up. Kennedy, please. Let's just calm down and... I am calm. I'm probably the only calm person here. I gathered the papers. You have until Thursday to get your story straight for the judge. I suggest you focus on explaining those bank withdrawals. You bitch! Michael spat. You think you're so perfect? No, I think I'm angry and tired and done watching you bleed Grandma dry while everyone enables you. I headed for the stairs. I'll be staying in my old room until this is settled. Don't bother trying to talk me out of it. Kennedy! Mom called after me. What about family? I stopped on the stairs and turned. Funny. Where was all this concern for family when Grandma needed her medications, when she was falling, when Michael was emptying her accounts? That's different. No, it's not. And here's what's going to happen. Either you all start cooperating with the investigation and guardianship process, or I let the police handle everything. Your choice. I climbed the stairs, their shocked silence following me. In my old room, I pulled out my phone and texted Lindsay. Phase 1 complete. They reacted exactly as expected. Her response came quickly. Documents filed with the court. Investigator briefed. You're doing the right thing. I looked at the family photos on my old dresser, dusty and forgotten, like so much else in this house. In one, Grandma and I were planting flowers. Some weeds look like flowers, she'd told me that day, but they'll strangle your garden if you let them grow too long. My phone buzzed again. Michael. You'll regret this. I smiled and typed back. No, I really won't. Then I went to check on Grandma, leaving them to stew in the mess they'd created. The garden needed weeding, and I was just getting started. The next morning, I heard Michael's footsteps creeping past my door at 6 a.m. I waited 5 minutes, then followed silently. Just as I suspected, he was heading to Grandma's room. I stood in the doorway, watching as he rifled through her purse. Looking for something? He jumped, nearly dropping her wallet. Jesus, Grandma asked me to get her medication money. Really? The medications I already paid for yesterday? His face reddened. She wanted. Save it. I held up my phone, already recording. This is going great with the police report, by the way. Want to explain to the camera why you're stealing from an elderly woman with dementia? I'm not stealing. She lets me use her debit card, empty her accounts, live here rent-free while she goes without medical care. He shoved past me into the hallway. You don't understand anything. I've been taking care of her. By taking her money. I followed him downstairs. The investigator's coming at 9, by the way. Should I tell her to check the security camera I installed in the living room last night? He froze halfway down the stairs. You what? Oh, didn't Mom tell you? Installing cameras is standard procedure in elder abuse cases. They've been running since midnight. His face went from red to white. You can't. That's invasion of privacy. Actually, as Grandma's medical proxy now, I can. Want to guess what the footage shows from this morning? He stormed into the kitchen, yanking open drawers. Where's her checkbook? Safe, along with her cards, ID, and everything else you've been using as your personal ATM. I needed that money! He slammed a drawer shut. You have no idea what it's like, being stuck here while you gallivant around the world. Stuck? I laughed. The door's right there. Get a job. Get your own place. Stop stealing from our grandmother. You self-righteous Language! I cut him off, still recording. The police love family drama footage. He grabbed his keys. I'm calling Mom. Great idea. Ask her to bring the bank statements I requested. The investigator will want to see where all that care money I sent actually went. The front door slammed behind him. I waited until his car screeched away, then called Lindsay. He took the bait, I said. Caught him on camera trying to steal her wallet this morning. Perfect. The investigator will want to see that footage. How's your grandmother? Better. The nurse is coming back today to check her vitals. Good. And the realtor? Coming at 11. Michael doesn't know yet. Be careful, Lindsay warned. When people like him feel cornered. I know. That's why I'm recording everything. After hanging up, I made Grandma breakfast. Real food, not the frozen dinners Michael had been feeding her. She seemed more alert today, her medications finally back on track. The garden looks sad, she said, gazing out the kitchen window. We'll fix it, I promised, though we both knew she wouldn't be here to see it bloom again. At 9 sharp, the investigator arrived. She was all business, photographing everything, taking statements, reviewing the camera footage. When she saw the bank statements, her eyebrows shot up. This is extensive, she said, noting the gaming purchases and cash withdrawals. There's more. I handed her Michael's text messages threatening me. He's not taking the intervention well. She was still there when Michael returned with Mom in tow. What is this? Mom demanded, then stopped short seeing the investigator's badge. Mrs. Dean, I'm Investigator Roberts. We need to discuss your son's access to your mother's accounts. This is ridiculous. Kennedy is just trying to cause trouble. Ma'am, we have video evidence from this morning of attempted theft, along with 6 months of unauthorized withdrawals. Would you like to make a statement? Mom's face crumpled. Michael wouldn't. He was just helping. Help yourself to the evidence, I said quietly, sliding the bank statements toward her. Maybe start with the $3,000 help at the casino last month. Michael lunged for the papers, but the investigator stepped between us. Sir, I suggest you remain calm. We can do this the easy way, or— This is my house! He shouted. You can't just— Actually, I interrupted, it's Grandma's house. And speaking of which— I checked my watch. The realtor will be here in 20 minutes to assess it for sale. The colour drained from both their faces. Sale? Mom whispered. Yes, to pay for Grandma's new care facility. Unless you'd both like to explain to the judge where all her money went? Michael stormed out again. Mom sank into a chair, staring at the evidence of her son's theft. The investigator nodded approvingly. You've done everything right, she said quietly. We'll take it from here. I watched Mom's shoulders shake and felt a twinge of— not guilt, exactly. Something else. The weight of necessary cruelty. But then I heard Grandma humming in the next room, a sound I hadn't heard in months, and knew I'd made the right choice. Sometimes healing starts with demolition. The family Zoom call was my idea. Let them all see each other's faces when I dropped the final bomb. Mom and Dad sat together in their living room. Michael sulked in Grandma's kitchen, and various aunts and uncles peered from their respective squares, all wondering why I'd called this emergency meeting. Thank you all for coming, I began, sitting in my temporary office, Grandma's sunny breakfast nook. I have some announcements about Grandma's care going forward. Kennedy, Mom interrupted, if this is about those ridiculous police reports. First, I continued as if she hadn't spoken, I've secured full-time professional care for Grandma. The team starts Monday. We can't afford— Michael started. Second, I've found her a lovely apartment in a senior living community. She moves in next month. Aunt Susan's face scrunched up. But this is her home. This house, I gestured around me, is being sold to fund her care. The realtor estimates we can get enough to cover several years of expenses. The Zoom erupted. Everyone talking at once, faces reddening, hands waving. I waited them out, sipping my coffee. You can't do this! Michael shouted over the chaos. I live here. Not anymore. I set down my cup. The eviction notice will be served tomorrow. More chaos. Mom was crying now. Dad stared blankly at the camera. Aunt Susan appeared to be praying. Listen. Uncle Rob tried to reason. We should discuss this as a family. Like you all discussed sending me those fake plane tickets? Or like you discussed letting Michael drain Grandma's accounts? Silence. Oh, you didn't know about that part? I shared my screen, displaying the bank statements. Let me give you a tour of where Grandma's money has been going. I scrolled through the evidence. Gaming purchases, bar tabs, cash withdrawals. With each new revelation, the family's expressions shifted from anger to shock to shame. The police are investigating, I added. They're particularly interested in who had access to her accounts. Kennedy, Dad finally spoke. Surely we can handle this privately. That time has passed. Would anyone like to know what the nurse found when she examined Grandma yesterday? Her medications had been replaced with generic painkillers. She was malnourished, dehydrated. Aunt Susan gasped. Uncle Rob looked ill. But Michael said— Mom began. Michael said a lot of things. I pulled up another document. This is the guardianship order. The judge signed it this morning. I now have full legal control over Grandma's care and finances. You went behind our backs. Michael slammed his fist on the table. Like you went behind hers to empty her accounts? I needed— Save it for your lawyer. I turned back to the group. The house goes on the market Monday. The care team starts the same day. Grandma moves to her new apartment once it's ready. And where am I supposed to go? Michael demanded. I hear they're hiring at Walmart. I smiled sweetly. Time to get a real job, brother dear. Mom was sobbing now. How could you do this to your family? I'm doing this for my family, the one member who actually deserves protection. I leaned closer to the camera. Grandma's being cared for now, properly. The rest of you can either support that or deal with the consequences of your negligence in court. We'll fight this, Michael threatened. With what money? Your gaming tournament winnings? Uncle Rob cleared his throat. Kennedy, maybe we could contribute. Too late. I held up another document. The trust is already established. No one touches Grandma's money except her care team. And me. You've thought of everything, haven't you? Dad said quietly. Someone had to. While you were all enabling Michael's theft and neglect, I was planning Grandma's rescue. Rescue? Mom scoffed through tears. You're destroying this family! No, you did that when you chose Michael's comfort over Grandma's health. I started closing windows on my screen. The police will be contacting some of you soon. I suggest being honest with them. Kennedy, please. Aunt Susan tried. Meeting adjourned. Oh, and Michael? I smiled at his furious face. The moving company comes Tuesday. Anything left in the house after that goes to donation. I ended the call before anyone could respond. Through the breakfast nook window, I could see Michael storming out to his car, phone pressed to his ear, probably calling Mom for damage control. Let them plot. Let them cry. Let them rage. I walked to Grandma's room, where she sat in her chair, looking more alert than she had in months. The nurse had helped her dress properly today, and her hair was neatly combed. Did you win? She asked, surprising me with her clarity. Win what, Grandma? She smiled, patting my hand. Whatever battle you were fighting in there, I could hear your warrior voice. I kissed her forehead. Yes, Grandma, I won, and you're going to be just fine. For the first time in days, I felt myself truly smile. Sometimes victory tastes like tears, and justice like goodbye. The eviction day arrived with storm clouds and tension thick enough to cut. Michael hadn't left the house in 3 days, barricading himself in his room like a teenager throwing a tantrum. Mom had been calling hourly, alternating between threats and tearful pleas. I stood on the front lawn with 2 police officers and the eviction server, watching the moving truck pull up. Ma'am, one officer said, we'll handle this professionally, but you should know your brother made some concerning calls last night. Threats? He nodded. We take those seriously. Right on cue, Michael appeared at the front door, looking wild-eyed and unwashed. You can't do this! I've lived here for 10 years! Sir, the eviction server stepped forward. I have a court order. Fuck your court order! Michael charged down the steps. The officers moved quickly, positioning themselves between us. Final warning, the first officer said firmly. Exit the property peacefully or we'll assist you. This is my home. He turned to me, voice cracking. Kennedy, please, where am I supposed to go? You had 3 weeks to figure that out. I nodded to the movers. Start with the upstairs. Don't touch my stuff! Michael tried to block the door, but the officers gently steered him aside. Sir, step back. Mom's car screeched up to the curb. Perfect timing. She rushed over, still wearing her work uniform. Stop this. We can talk about it. Nothing to talk about, I said, checking my watch. Grandma's care team arrives in 2 hours to help her pack. Michael needs to be gone by then. You heartless, Mom started, but stopped when another car pulled up. Dad stepped out, looking tired. Michael, I've got a room ready at our house. Let's not make this harder than it needs to be. You're taking her side! Michael's voice rose hysterically. I'm trying to keep you out of jail! Dad snapped, showing the first real backbone I'd seen from him in years. The police have your threats on record. Don't add resisting eviction to your problems. The movers emerged with the first load, Michael's gaming equipment. He lunged forward, but the officers blocked him. That's thousands of dollars of stolen equipment, I finished. Bought with Grandma's money. It's been catalogued as evidence. Evidence? Mom's face paled. You mean you're really pressing charges? The DA is. I turned to her. Financial elder abuse is a felony, Mom. Did you think I was bluffing? More furniture came out. Michael's mini-fridge. His collectibles. With each item, his face grew darker. I hate you, he spat at me. You've ruined everything. No, you did that yourself. One stolen credit card swipe at a time. Dad took Michael's arm. Come on, son. Let's go home and figure this out. I'm not leaving. This is my... Not your house, I interrupted. Never was. You were just squatting in Grandma's space, bleeding her dry while she suffered. The officers moved closer as Michael's hands clenched into fists. Think carefully about your next move, one warned. Assault charges won't help your situation. Something in Michael seemed to deflate. He looked around at the growing pile of his possessions, at the officers watching him, at Dad's outstretched hand. Fine, he whispered. Fine, take it all. But don't come crying to me when Grandma gets worse without me here to what? I stepped closer. To neglect her? To steal from her? To watch her fall and do nothing? Mom tried one last time. Kennedy, please, he's your brother. And she's my grandmother, the woman who raised me while you worked, who believed in me when no one else did. Who deserves better than what this family did to her? The moving truck was nearly full now. Michael's decade of mooching condensed into one small load. I'll get my car, Dad said quietly. Michael, come on, before this gets worse. Finally, shoulders slumped. Michael followed Dad to the car. But at the last moment, he turned back. You think you're so perfect, he snarled. But you abandoned her too. Ran off to Singapore and left her with me. No, I said softly. I built a life that could help her, while you built nothing but debt in her name. They drove away, Mom following in her car after one last tearful look. The officers helped finish loading Michael's things, then departed with a warning that they'd be patrolling the area regularly. I walked back into the house, quiet now, clean after days of work. Upstairs, I could hear the soft voices of Grandma's care team helping her sort through decades of memories, deciding what to take to her new home. Miss! The moving truck driver approached with papers. Where should we deliver his things? I handed him an address. My parents' house. And take your time. The longer he waits, the more he'll understand what it means to have nothing. Sometimes the hardest lessons come wrapped in cardboard boxes and eviction notices. The Singapore sun streamed through my office window as I reviewed the latest report from Grandma's care team. Her cognitive scores had improved dramatically since moving to the senior living community. Patient engaging in social activities, the report noted. Participating in art classes. Memory stabilizing with proper medication management. My phone buzzed. A video call from Lindsay. You should see her today, Lindsay said as soon as I answered. She's teaching other residents how to arrange flowers. The camera panned to show Grandma at a table covered in bright blooms, instructing a small group with the same patience she'd once shown me in her garden. The trust is working perfectly, Lindsay continued, and the house sale closed yesterday. Any word from Michael? Still living with your parents. The DA offered a plea deal, probation and restitution instead of jail time. I nodded. Good. I don't want him in prison. I just want him to grow up. Speaking of growth, Lindsay turned the camera back to Grandma. Someone wants to say hello. Grandma's face filled the screen, clearer and brighter than I'd seen in years. Kennedy, look what we're making. She proudly showed me a vase of perfectly arranged roses. Remember how I taught you about balance? Not too many dark blooms. Always let the light ones shine through. I remember, Grandma. My throat tightened. You taught me everything important. Not everything. She leaned closer to the camera, her eyes sharp. You learned the hard part yourself. How to be strong when it matters. A message popped up on my screen. Mom requesting a video call. I'd been ignoring her attempts at contact, but something made me hesitate this time. Take it, Grandma said, reading my expression. It's time. I switched calls. Mom appeared, looking older somehow, worn down. Kennedy, she started, then stopped. I've been going through old photos. She held up a picture, me and Grandma in her garden, dirt on our faces, grinning at the camera. You were right, she said quietly. About everything. We failed her. I failed you both. Mom. No, let me finish. Michael's in therapy now, Dad insisted, and I've been thinking about what you said, about enabling him while Grandma suffered. She wiped her eyes. The DA showed us all the evidence, the withdrawals, the neglect. I didn't want to see it. It was easier to blame you for leaving than to admit we'd let things get so bad. It's not about blame anymore, I said. It's about making things right. Is she happy? In the new place? I switched back to a three-way call, letting Mom see Grandma teaching her flower class. Oh, Mom breathed. She looks like herself again. No thanks to us, I said firmly. But yes, she's thriving. Would it be okay if I visited her? Properly this time? I looked at Grandma, who nodded slightly. That's her choice. But Mom? No guilt trips, no manipulation, no Michael until he's further along in therapy. I understand. She hesitated. And you? Will you ever forgive us? I'm not angry anymore, I realized as I said it. I'm just done enabling chaos. Your grandmother raised you right, Mom said softly. Better than I did. After ending the calls, I stood at my window, watching Singapore's gardens stretch toward the sky. My phone buzzed with a text from Camilla. Drinks tonight? You can tell me all about the family drama fallout. Actually, I typed back, I think the drama's finally settling, like soil after a storm. I opened my laptop to book a flight, not running home this time, choosing to visit. On my terms. In my time. Another message arrived, this one from Dad. Michael started job training today. Baby steps. Then one from Lindsay. Your grandmother asked me to send you this. The photo showed a small garden box on her balcony, fresh dirt waiting for seeds. The note propped against it read, Ready for our next lesson, little bird. Some flowers bloom better after a hard season. I touched the screen, smiling. Then I opened my calendar and blocked off 2 weeks next month. Time to go plant some seeds with Grandma. Not because anyone guilted me, not because family obligation demanded it, but because sometimes, after you've pulled all the weeds and cleared all the rot, you find fertile ground for something new to grow. My phone buzzed one final time, a message from Grandma herself, probably typed by a nurse. Proud of you, Kennedy. You learned the hardest garden lesson. Sometimes love means knowing when to prune. I looked out at Singapore's greenery again, thinking of all the gardens I'd helped tend. The ones that grew in soil, the ones that grew in hearts, and the ones that could only grow once you cleared away what was choking them. Some people call it revenge. Some call it justice. I call it necessary pruning. And now, finally, everything could bloom.